We are living in some crazy times. Every day it seems like we are losing more of our freedoms. The time has come for you to claim back your freedom. You're thinking about moving, and if you're gonna move to a different state, it's gotta be a state with a lot of freedom. Living a self-sufficient country life. Freedom!
Live happy, fun-loving, and carefree.
You've lived all your life where you are, and you have watched your freedoms, your rights being slowly taken away. You should not be prevented from living life as you see fit. You should be able to do whatever you want, especially with your own property, as long as you don't infringe on the rights of other people. Do what you want as long as you're not bugging people. Life where you're living today isn't happy anymore. Maybe it's the high cost of living, maybe it's an increase in crime or oppressive regulations. Whatever the reason or reasons, you have finally decided to move. But what are the best freedom states to move to? When you research the freedom rankings of all the different states, what should you be considering? Hey, here's Rob's way to freedom. My freedom ranking looks at each state's policies, like fiscal, regulations, and personal freedoms. Each of these three broad categories is made up of a bunch of smaller little subcategories. Given all of this, which state's the freest? Let's talk about the top 7 free ranking states. So number 7, I pick Georgia. Hey, a lot of people really like Georgia. And by my calculations, it makes the list at number 7. Georgia ranks high in fiscal policies and state regulations. But it's pretty low, well below average in the personal freedoms. Hey, if you like heat and humidity, Georgia might be the state for you. Number 6 is Indiana. Many people are kind of surprised that Indiana ranks as a freedom state. Indiana ranks just a little bit behind Georgia in fiscal policy and the state regulations, but it's much better in the personal freedoms, making it number 6, just a little bit ahead of Georgia. If you like all 4 seasons, Indiana, hey, it might be a good state for you. Number 5 is South Dakota. Do you like wind? Interesting, South Dakota's wind averages better than 20 miles per hour. Anyway, it ranks near the top in both fiscal policies and state regulations. And it's, middle of the road in the personal freedoms. If you like a place where the government keeps their nose out of your business and some wind, South Dakota, that's going to be the state for you. Number 4 is Tennessee. Do you like country music and whiskey? Tennessee ranks number 2 in fiscal policies, and it ranks okay in state regulations. But to be honest, it's kind of bad in the personal freedoms. Weirdly, Tennessee still has dry counties, and homeschooling laws are moderately restrictive. If you are looking for a place with minimal taxes and few land regulations, Tennessee's going to be the state for you. Number 3 is Nevada. In personal freedoms, things like crime, guns, education, Nevada ranks number 1 out of all 50 states. It's the freest personal freedom state. Nevada ranks pretty good in fiscal policies, and it's, middle of the road in the regulations. If personal freedoms are the most important thing to you, then Nevada is going to be the best state. Number 2, I have to keep looking at my fingers to make sure I hold up the right number. And just to say it, number 2 and number 1, hey, they're really close together. Depending on timing, they kind of switch back and forth. So the number 2 state is Florida. Florida ranks number 1 in fiscal freedoms. I looked at things like taxation, government spending, debt. It's middle of the road like Nevada in the state's regulations. Florida ranks pretty decent in your personal freedoms. So if you prefer summer all the time and the beach life, Florida is probably the state that you want to move to. Ooh, excuse me. And number 1 is, drum roll please, New Hampshire. New Hampshire ranks number 2 in their personal freedoms, right behind Nevada, and they're number 3 behind Tennessee in their fiscal freedoms. Like Nevada and Florida, it's pretty much middle of the road in regulations. If you're looking for the most overall freedoms, you know, kind of the best of everything, and you like winter activities too, hands down, New Hampshire is the best state for you. Important. All of these 7 states rank high in fiscal policies. 5 of the 7, New Hampshire, Florida, Nevada, Tennessee, and South Dakota, have no income tax. Zip. Interestingly, only South Dakota and Georgia rank in the top 7 states for regulatory freedoms. Nevada, Florida, and New Hampshire, you know, they're kind of overregulated if you ask me. And in the personal freedoms, Nevada and New Hampshire are number 1 and number 2. Unfortunately, Tennessee and Georgia, they rank kind of poor in the personal freedom department. You know, again, the dry county thing, stuff like that. The thing you want to do is look at each state and think about what's important to you. No state's gonna be perfect. Is living in a state with no income tax important? Is living in a dry, no alcohol county gonna be a deal breaker for you? You know, think about things like this. Say yes to Rob's way, my way, to finding and moving to a freedom state. To you beginning your self-sufficient country living life. Living happy, living fun loving, and living carefree. Freedom!